Hi guys! So today I am so incredibly excited to spill the tea on some celebrity stories throughout my career. Now, since I started in the 90s, gosh, the 90s! Geez, you guys, I've been around since the 90s. I've been able to meet and work with some of my favorite stars, peers, and mentors, and you guys, I never, ever take it for granted. But before we get started, make sure to follow Tia Mowry's Quick Fix for more content. All right, you guys, let's go. Do you guys remember the movie Never Ending Story? And there was this character, Atreyu. I had the biggest crush on this kid. I don't even know what his name is, like in real life. I just know his character name. And I will say, I have continued to stalk him throughout the years. Like, maybe a year ago, I looked him up online just to see, like, what is he doing? Like Mike Vitar from Sandlot. Now, I don't know what his character name was, but I know his name. And I also kind of stalked him as well. I will randomly social stalk these guys just to see, like, what they're up to. Is that weird? Mike Vitar and Atreyu. Those were like my crushes when I was a kid. Beyonce is the queen. Na. I love Beyonce. I am so inspired by her. My husband, he's so funny. He's like, Tia, when you listen to her music, you act different. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Because, you know, Beyonce, she's all about, like, she's a feminist, you know what I mean? And she's all about women empowerment. So I just think, you know, my husband, he's just a little intimidated. Anyway, she just does something to me. Does something to my soul. I had met Beyonce when they were a part of Destiny's Child. But again, you know, I've been in this business, y'all, like I said, since the 90s. I've been around for a very long time. So I've met a lot of people prior to them kind of blowing up and being very successful. So I met Beyonce when she was on my brother's show, Smart Guy, years ago, when she was a part of Destiny's Child. But Destiny's Child was just kind of up and coming, like they hadn't made a big, huge splash yet. So it was more like just saying hi, you know, just being nice and cordial and hi, nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of, you know, my brother's show. And they were so excited to be there and they were all so incredibly nice. Since then, Beyonce is like Beyonce. And I just relate to her in so many ways. I just love, you know, her, just the women empowerment. I love how, you know, she's a mother, but she's still badass. I'm inspired by her in so many ways. So meeting her again, there was just more history. I had gone to her On the Run tour with Jay-Z. And one of my friends knows the family. And so they invited me and they were like, you know, T, you could go ahead and go backstage. And so I see her, you know, backstage and they keep their circle very small. You know what I mean? As soon as I walk in, it's like, there's Beyonce and Jay-Z. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, will she remember me and all this kind of stuff? So I was just a little intimidated. And it was another one of those moments where I was like, hi, how are you? And she remembered me, knew who I was and all this kind of stuff. And she was just so incredibly warm and kind and sweet. And I remember saying, like, oh my God, I love you. Did I just really embarrass myself? But anyway, they're just really cool, humble, normal people. I know it's kind of hard to see that. And then cut to, we're all leaving the party, and then you see a car with like security, and then you see their car, and then there's like security behind them. So in a small environment, they're themselves and they're normal people. But then once the party's over and they have to leave, it's like, whoa, this is like the president of the United States. You know what I mean? Like just bodyguards and cars and security just all over them. So it's intimidating from that perspective, but then when you meet them, they're just like really cool people. I met Britney Spears actually at the height of her career. It was at the American Music Awards, and gosh, it's so interesting. Like my mind is just going back. I remember a few rows back was Joey McIntyre. You will ruin my whole world. New Kids on the Block. Girl. Okay, anyway. So I remember he was sitting behind me and I was freaking out. You know what I mean? It's been years since he was in his group, but I was like, that's Joey McIntyre behind me. And then as my sister and I, we went up to present our award, we had to walk on stage through this kind of like entryway, and there was the podium. But before getting to the stage, Britney Spears was like right to our right. And for a minute, I didn't know it was Britney Spears because she was by herself. And she was so calm and quiet and just really cool and just really like humble. So I was like, is that Britney Spears? Because I imagined her being around this big entourage, which they usually do have a big entourage. And so we said hi to her, and she was just so incredibly down to earth, so sweet, so kind. And I was like, wow, she is a normal person. You know what I mean? Like, she was so incredibly famous, but here she was just like by herself and just being herself. It was pretty cool. Oh, the friendliest celebrity I have ever met was Angelina Jolie. I met Angelina Jolie basically because of my husband. Corey had done a movie called American Sniper, and Clint Eastwood had directed it, and then Clint Eastwood had invited us to a movie premiere that he had directed Angelina Jolie in. She's actually been my celebrity like crush, girl crush for years, okay? So when I saw her, I was like, oh my God. I was so nervous to walk up to her. But then I was like, okay, Tia, you know how to do this. First, I asked her security guard and then her publicist that was, surrounded by her, because a lot of these celebrities, they have, an entourage. And so instead of approaching her that way, I was like, let me just say hi to them first and, check the temperature, because you never know these days. They went over, talked to her, and then they said, yeah, she'd like to meet you. And I was like, I walked over there and I said, hi, my name is, she goes, oh, I know who you are. It's like I'm hearing her, but I'm not hearing her because I'm just like in shock, and I'm like, Tia, pay attention to what she's saying. Because she's so beautiful. Like, her skin is just like, she's flawless, you guys. She really, really is. She was just so sweet and nice. She's like an angel. And so she was talking about how, she knows my sister and I were twins, and she said that she has twins, and she knew about sister and all of that. And I was like, wow, this is so incredibly cool. Then I met her again years later. Oh my gosh, there she is again. Let me go say hi to her. And I walked up to her and she remembered me. And so she is still just a sweetheart. So I love you, Angelina Jolie. I don't know if I would call this funniest celebrity story, but it was interesting. My sister and I want to say it was in the 90s. And we had gotten invited to New York to participate in this award show. And I think it was the Essence Award show. My sister and I, we walk out, and Prince was in the audience. And God, I love Prince, and gosh, I miss Prince. And he just looked at my sister and I and went like that. Freaking Prince! Waving at you and saying hi, being Prince. Okay, you guys, I have a story for you. So the tallest celebrity I have ever met would definitely have to be Shaquille O'Neal. I met Shaquille O'Neal basically through my brother Taj, commercials or print work or something like that. And so we were at this event that he had invited us to, because my brother had met him first, but I hadn't met him. And we had to, of course, take pictures on the red carpet, And I'm like, do. And I end up just putting my, hand around him like you would in a picture. Y'all, my hand, it was literally like on his butt. And I wasn't meaning to, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh God, I am so sorry. He's so tall that when, you think that you're just like touching someone's shoulders as you're coming in for a hug, I was basically like touching his behind, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But anyway, that's my funny story. He became friends with our family. Shaquille O'Neal, you guys. And so he was like really like a big brother to my sister and I. He was like, if anybody hurts you girls, these are his exact words. He was like, I will break their backs. So I met Kobe Bryant for the first time on Sister Sister. And again, it was just really cool to meet people like before they hit like their peak, you know, with becoming famous. Kobe Bryant, he had just signed his deal with the Lakers, and I remember meeting him and he was like, ooh, you know, it's like just, he's so tall and he was just so incredibly soft-spoken and just so sweet and so kind, and he was a part of our show. So I remember just doing the scene with him and just being like, oh my gosh, like he knows his lines and like he's just having a lot of fun. He's not even like nervous, but I remember him telling me, he was like, I'm really nervous. And my sister and I are like, just have fun. And I remember we stayed friends for a minute. He was a really, really cool dude. Really, really nice guy. I would have to say Kevin Hart. I met Kevin Hart for the first time years and years and years ago when he was new. I remember walking in the lot for an audition. I was auditioning, it was like after Sister Sister had ended and I was trying to find a job. He had a television show that he had booked, but he wasn't well known. But he was very nice, he was very sweet, and of course he had a great presence and he was funny and he was energetic. So that's how I remember, you know, when I saw the show or when he started to blow up, I was like, oh my God, I met that guy at the Sony lot. And he was just really humble and just really cool and nice. But he, you know, he's short. Kevin Hart, if you are watching this, I love you, bro. I love you, man. Our whole entire family, we are huge fans of yours, and thank you so much for just continuing to make us laugh. I'm on Sister Sister, and I would, during break, I would go to the gym to, you know, work out. And Denzel Washington is in the gym. Denzel Washington, like huge freaking star, okay? And he's boxing. That's what he's doing as a workout. I went over, said hi. You know, I'm not shy. I'm hi. I told him who I was. I don't even know if he knew who my sister and I, who we were then, but he was so nice and he started boxing with me. He's like, you wanna box? You wanna box? Come on, let's go. And so we were just kind of like, you know, just doing a little bit of boxing together. And I just thought that was, come on. You're like 16, 17 years old and you're like boxing with Denzel Washington. It was pretty freaking awesome. John Travolta would definitely have to be one of my favorite celebrity stories. Sister Sister, I'm working at Paramount Studios, and at Paramount Studios, there's all of these different stages. Some of these stages are filming television shows like mine, Sister Sister, and then big budget movies. And John Travolta's movie happened to be filming. My sister and I, we wanted to go over to his stage and say hi. Now, it is very hard, you guys, to get on the lot, period, because there's just like a lot of security. And then on the stage where people are filming, you know, it's very private and it's like confidential. And so we didn't know, you know what I mean, if they were gonna let us on. And John Travolta, he actually came out and he talked to my sister and I. He had on his uniform, he had on like a hat and his jacket. And so he was in character. To be able to see someone with such a huge, just star status, should I say, to be so humble and kind, that was a really cool, you know, experience. First celebrity I ever met was Red Fox. I was at the airport. I was actually flying into LA to start my career, and he was sitting down by the window. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's Red Fox. Like we should go over and, you know, say hi. So I remember going over, saying hi. I had gum in my mouth and he basically was like, why are you chewing that gum like that? I was like, oh, okay. Like this is my first celebrity. Sister Sister had premiered on ABC and I was in New York doing press for it. Man, before I could walk the streets, you know, of New York and nobody say anything. And I remember I was with my sister and we were in Times Square. And when I say, it was like, where did these kids come from? It was like maybe about 15 to 20 kids that had seen my sister and I, and they started running after us. And my sister and I were like, oh my God, what do we do? Where do we go? So we start running. We're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? Where do we go? And we literally had to hide in a pharmacy. So we had found this like pharmacy close by, and we're like, oh my God, we have all of these kids like running after us. Can we like hide? We ended up having to hire a bodyguard. And that's when we were like, oh my gosh, like we need a bodyguard. Like this is crazy, you know? Kids, they would literally grab our legs and like, we would be dragging them like, oh my God, okay, yeah, nice to meet you. They just, you know, that was my first kind of sign of fame. Which celebrity gave me the best advice? I would have to say Tim Reed, who played Ray on Sister Sister. The advice that he had given me was, it was the last season of Sister Sister. It was the 6th year. You know, it was basically my childhood. And they had told us that this was gonna be the last season. And of course I was just like devastated. Like this is all really I knew for so many years. And he had pulled my sister and I aside, and he got really serious with us, you know? Tim Reed has been in this business for a long time. He was on the first It. Remember It, the movie, It? He did that, he did KRP Cincinnati, so he's been in this business for a long time, meaning he's been a part of television shows that have ended. We never experienced that, and he had told me and my sister, make sure you find something else that you want to do. And I remember when he told us this, my sister and I were like, oh my gosh, like what is he talking about? Like I love to act, like this is what I love to do. It was the truth, and it was the best advice that I had ever been given, and look at me, that's how I am today. I have diversified my career, meaning I just don't do one thing. So when one thing is over, I'm beginning another. When you do so many different things, you have longevity. I feel like, especially when you're young, you feel like there's only one thing that you're good at or one thing that you should be doing. Like throughout the course of our lives, we grow, we evolve, and we learn. It's okay for us to try different things. Like that is okay. You don't just have to just be doing this one thing. Also growing and learning who you are as a person. I feel like there's so many different facets to who I am, and there's so many different facets to people in general. Like you're not just so one-dimensional. And so I just want to thank you, Tim Reed, for giving me that piece of advice. I mean, I was 20 years old. And here I am over 20 years later, basically living out that advice, and it has been the best advice. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Tia Mowry's Quick Fix. You know, I hope you guys really enjoyed reminiscing about all things celebrities with me. We'll see you next time.